And so I thought maybe I would take out the instructions and look at the instructions. You know, guys never look at the instructions. All right, Art Cox back with you. It's been a little while back since I talked to you about the compost toilet. And I finally have the compost toilet where it's actually going to sit here. So, well, I got to be a little bit more familiar with this thing. And if you remember right, I decided that we were going to use two different things. We were going to use pine shavings, and then we were going to use peat moss. Well, I was leaning toward the pine shavings, but it's kind of a funny thing because that was what I started with. And I'll tell you, after the second use, using the pine shavings, we noticed a little bit of a peculiar odor. But by the third use, and I'm not talking the third day, I'm talking the third use, my wife said, "Art, you've got to do something. It smells like dirty diapers." So, well, the pine shavings, they went out. And they're in the garden now. Well, they're off to the side. And I immediately replaced it with the peat moss. The peat moss has worked fantastic. After 1 week, there was still no odor at all. In fact, it just smelled like dirt. And after the week, I needed to do something because what was happening here, if you want to come in here real quick, what was happening, I'll take my stirrer off. I was finding that there was a little bit of condensation building on the bottom here, coming up probably from the composting process. And it was basically starting to build a little bit of condensation here. And so I thought maybe I would take out the instructions and look at the instructions. You know, guys never look at the instructions. So I decided to look at the instructions, and they said that periodically it will happen where you'll get some condensation build up. And the simplest remedy is to just change out the peat moss. So that's what I did. And so everything's good again. And anyway, but what I wanted to do is at this time, I want to show you how to prepare this and get it ready to go. So, as I said, peat moss, that's got my big vote. The pine shavings are out. They're in the chicken house. And we're going to use peat moss from here on out. Okay, so what happens is you set this to the side, and then you lift the whole unit. And as you remember, it starts off with a 1 gallon jug in there for the urine. And I've had to change that out, and thank the Lord for Aldi whole milk jugs, because that's what I've replaced my jug with. And then you pull the main part of it out, and you need to set that back down again. And then come on out with me, because this is an outside job, okay? All right, now you don't want to just put peat moss into the holding bin, because basically what happens is it creates this black, very fine dust that gets all over the place. So what you do to fix that is basically you pre-moisten it. Now you don't want to get it wet, but you do want to pre-moisten it so you get that dust down. So you just get you a little container here and get you some peat moss. Just throw it in a tub. And again, I'm going to be guessing. You might be able to see the dust rolling out of that already. And if you didn't put any moisture in this and you stirred that with the stir, dust just comes up out of there and settles all over everything. It's a mess. And the easy remedy of that is you just pre-moisten it. Now again, you don't want to get this all wet. You just want to get it to where you've killed the dust. So I just kind of, see, even as I stir that, you can see that it just makes a dusty mess. So you basically just put your hose on fine. You could pour a little water in it too. I mean, I just like the little sprayer because it keeps it at a very minimum. And you just keep stirring it until finally the dust does not rise up anymore. And again, you do not want to get this wet. You just want to get it where the dust isn't rising out of it anymore. Because you're wanting it to keep it as dry as you can so that it'll suck the moisture out of the stool, and that's what keeps the odor down. So I think we're pretty good right there. And this is probably the most laborsome part of the entire project of keeping this up. But again, you can see this is live footage. It's taken me a whole of about 1 minute to get this job done. And then you just pour it into your holding tank. You just pour it all into there. Again, this is an outside job. And you get it in there. Set it aside, and we can get that hose down. And we set it in the compost toilet. And you're ready to go. Literally. All right, guys, that is getting it prepared. I want to go ahead and put that in there so that you can see it installed in there. Get my hands rinsed off real quick. You can use gloves or whatever that you want to on this. I'm a man, so I don't use gloves. So come on in with me and we'll get this put back together. Again, you want to keep the mess down because you keep the wife off your back. You know what I mean? Come on in. So what you do is you, to put this back in there, you lift this unit back up here and you set the main storage unit in there. And again, you have to push it back till it lines up. You want to make sure it's in the right spot. And then you replace the urine tank. Again, it doesn't matter which way it goes as long as the handle goes toward the back. You slide that down into place. And then when you close down the unit, this will go into the jug. You want to make sure that happens, or you're just going to, your urine is going to go into the base of the compost toilet. So you put it in there, and you can tell when it goes in there. And then the compost toilet is done, and it's, put your stirrer back in there, and it's ready to go. But I'll do that in private. Really good to have you with me as we covered the compost toilet. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I just want to put in a little bit of a good word for the C-Head Compost Toilet. Again, it's not of the two best brands that are out there, but it's certainly more economical, and I think it's a real nice unit here. So I'm looking forward to using it, and just want to say thanks a lot for watching, and please keep up on all the other projects we're doing at Simpler Ways Educational Homestead. Thanks a lot.